keep that in mind. A lot of times, again, you'll hear on the non-management side they want to hit their 30 years, and on the management side, a lot of them know they got to be 55 and 20 to leave. Now, Table B, as I told you, to think of it as a Table F. You're 54. You're not SPE. You're going to walk away with about 35% of your pension. Absolute annihilation here. So, you want to be very aware when people are asking you why is it so important. It's because you're on a very, very bad table, and until you become service pension eligible, you don't get to go to the good table, Table A. And this is what Table B looks like for you, ma'am. You're only at about 35% of your pension. How would you like to stay one more year and end up with 85? How would you like to stay one more year and end up with 100%? 100% versus that's a 65% increase by staying one more year. And believe me, a lot of these managers do not understand this stuff. So a comparison of Table A versus Table B, just to give you a few, I'm 54 with 30 years of service. Remember, I've got my 30 years, so I'm only going to take a 3% haircut instead of a 6. And I'm on Table A because I can put a check with both of these. I'm over 50, and I've got more than 25. I am mod 75. Keep in mind, I put a check on both. I'm mod 75. That means I'm on Table A. But do I have age penalties? And in this case, I do have age penalties of 3% for that 1 year because I'm below 55. Now, on the other side of it, I'm 54 with 20 years. I'm on Table B still. I can't put a check in both of these boxes. When I was 50, I didn't have 30 years. I'm 54. I still don't, or excuse me, 25 years. I'm 54. I still don't have 25 years. But when I turn 55, I will have 21 years, so I will be able to put a check in both boxes. So if I just stayed one more year, I would lose nothing in my pension. But because I left at 54 with 20 years and didn't understand the rules, I lost 65% of my pension. So keep in mind, 55 and 20, that is the sweet spot. And, some people make this mistake, and they're leaving a ton of money on the table. Now, we're going to get into something that a lot of employees don't know about. It's called the Rule of 400, the $400 rule. And if the difference between the top two monthly payments is more than $400, there's stipulations on which lump sum you can get. So let's go into an example. Right? If it's less than $400, you can get the biggest lump sum there is, or the biggest annuity. But if it's more than $400, you're going to have some issues. And we're going to go into an example I think that really explains this a little bit better. And here it is. So as I told you, they're keeping track of a lot of different pensions these days. In this example, this particular manager has a cash balance plan, the special ATB, the ATV, and the CAM. And on the left-hand side, you'll notice that the biggest, they calculated them all out, and they put them in order, and they said your biggest two benefits are your ATB and your CAM. But the difference between those two benefits is $900 in this example. Because it's more than $400, if I want to walk away and convert my monthly payment to a lump sum, I cannot get that $350,000 you see on the right-hand side. Because the top two monthly payments are more than $400 spread apart, they're only going to give me the second biggest lump sum, and the difference is what they call a residual annuity for life. So in this scenario, they give me $300 if I want it, $300 grand, but they're going to give me a $900 monthly payment for the rest of my life, which they refer to as the residual annuity, and people will say, I'm falling under the CAM. What they're talking about is that they're getting that residual annuity. They can't get a full lump sum. They're getting a partial lump sum. So again, had these two biggest annuities been within less than $400, maybe the CAM was $3,300 and the ATB was $3,000, they could have gotten that $350. But because they're spread apart more than $400, unfortunately, they're going to give them the $300,000 if they want a partial lump sum and $900 for the rest of their life. Now, if they don't want to mess around with getting a partial lump sum, they can just take $3,900 for the rest of their lives, and they just don't get any lump sum. That's just taking the biggest monthly annuity they'll offer you. So you want them to be able to understand this, and a lot of people will say, how do we close this gap? How do I get out of this CAM? I want a full lump sum. Unfortunately, sometimes it's very difficult to get out. You're never going to get out. So it's just that's the nature of the beast, and let's just hope the lump sum goes up, and you're just going to have to take it as a partial lump sum, and you're going to be stuck with a partial annuity as well. And the last part of the history is in 2005. They actually ended up The cash balance, they didn't contribute the 5% anymore. It stopped, and now it's just growing with interest credit. So believe it or not, as interest rates go up, so does your cash balance plan. And remember, they're looking at multiple different plans here when they're figuring out what your benefit is. And so if interest rates did go up, maybe your cash balance plan will take over. We have seen some in the Texas area where the cash balance plan is bigger than the CAM, and they'll actually get the cash balance as their largest benefits. Just keep that in mind. All these calculations are going on in the background. Now, as many of you know, just to end this today, we're just going to talk about interest rates. As interest rates go up, your lump sum goes down. Right now, interest rates are extreme lows. In the first quarter of 2012, non-management's rate is around 3.02. That's over a 1% drop. That's probably going to be an increase of about 10% in their pension lump sums. That's significant. Management has actually dropped about a quarter, which is still nice. It's probably looking at around a 3 to 5% increase in their pension. Now, quarter two next year is not looking as good. Quarter two could definitely be bad for non-management. Quarter two, non-management is probably going to see a big increase from where they're at now. If I was a non-manager and I had my 30 years and I was thinking about retiring, I think they'd be crazy not to leave in quarter one if they're taking a lump sum. So this is an opportunity if you're working the AT&T market to understand this so that you can tell people, listen, you need to leave in quarter one. You do not want to be at that company in April because you're going to take a significant hit on your lump sum, and you told me you're married with kids and you want the lump sum. So we need to get you out of here. Management, we're keeping an eye on it. It might slightly go up. It could stay the same. But certainly the PPA, the Pension Protection Act, hasn't affected them much yet. In fact, it went down a little bit, which we were happy to see. We were afraid that it was going to get real out of control. But again, we've seen rates move up very, very quickly. So I tell managers right now, you're not retiring next year. You're retiring a quarter at a time. Every quarter you're going to look at this, run some numbers, and figure out if you need to leave. And believe me, if you're working at 50% of your annual salary or even zero of your annual salary because of the loss in your pension, many people are going to say, I'm out of here. I'm not going to work for half of my salary. I make $60 grand and my pension went down 30, so I'm basically working for 30 grand this year. It's not worth all the stress. I'm out. And you need to make those decisions a quarter at a time. So we're having these conversations, and it's really given us a lot of opportunity to retire some people in 2012. Now, why are these rates jumping around? It's because the corporate bond, the PPA that we've been hearing about, is finally kicking in 2012, and it's kicking in 25%. It already kicked in for management starting in the first quarter. For non-management, this actually kicks in April, and that's why non-management is going to see a significant increase. Non-management, if you're there, they've got their 30 years, there's SPE, they want to get out. Quarter one is going to be a very, very big opportunity for them to get out at probably the lowest rate they'll ever see, 3.02. And as you get older, and if you're not SPE and you're on table B and you don't have your 30 years and you got to stick around, you're not 55 and 20 on the management side yet, unfortunately you're going to have to bear this for the most part to reach your service pension eligibility. And by 2015, as you can see, it's 100% corporate bond, which obviously is a disadvantage. Corporate bond's been about 1.5% to 2% higher than the Treasury. So imagine having your rate go up 1.5%, 2%, you're probably going to lose 15 or 20% of your lump sum. Now, again, we've been talking a lot about the lump sum. If they want the monthly annuity, none of this stuff matters. The rates don't matter, so just keep that in mind. So, again, the interesting thing about some of these plans is in the middle here, if interest rates go up, your ATB and your CAM go down. But if interest rates go down, your ATB and your CAM go up. That's the seesaw. But keep in mind, it's the opposite for the cash balance and the SATB. They go in the same direction. It's not a seesaw. As an interest rate goes up that's being applied to your cash balance, of course your cash balance is also going to grow. So it's a direct relationship. And your SATB, remember they were adding 6% or the GAT rate each year. But keep in mind, that's a lump sum that's converted to an annuity. So if interest rates go up, so would the annuity. So it's interesting that the cash balance and the SATB are moving in the same direction as interest rates. As interest rates go up, so will these plans. But the ATB and the CAM, actually, you'd like to have low interest rates. So it's just important for you to understand that when someone's asking you some questions that, depending on which plan we're talking about, you might want to have the interest rates go up or down. For Texas area, if the cash balance has already taken over above and beyond the CAM, maybe you want the interest rates to go up. In California, I can tell you most people want the interest rates to go down because they're dealing with the CAM. And that's really it for tonight. There's a lot of opportunity next year with a lot of the companies, especially AT&T, because of how low the interest rates are. People that are service pension eligible that are out of age penalties or close to being out of age penalties are really considering retiring. And we want to make sure that we help them do that. Is there any questions before I stop the recording?
No, you did a great job, Rich. Thanks.
All right.